Alright, this is Dan from Chasing the Missing Link. We're going to grind some beef today. We're going to use what I call one of my better burger chili grinds. Chili grind, actually, I use blade chucks cut with sirloin, and I mix them in a coarse. This time I'm going to use shoulder clawed and boneless chucks because I wanted to lean up my trim some. Chucks are pretty fatty. They're about 22 to 30. Great for sausage. And shoulder clods are a little lean. They're probably something like 17 to 22, so it should sit right about 22%. Plus I have assorted trim for my sirloins that when I did my baseball cuts. And I also have a bunch of trim from the inside round when I did the top round roasts. So I have my little trusty 3/4 horsepower grinder. This is what I use to stuff sausage till I get a pump and grind just about everything I need to grind. The thing's a little workhorse. It's a little Gander Mountain. As far as a non-commercial grinder, it does the job. So first thing I need to do, since the tube on my grinder is a very small hole and it's not a big hopper, what I need to do is I need to take some of these roasts and I need to cut them into usable sizes. Otherwise they just will not grind and they won't feed. So what I want to do is cut them down and throw them in this bowl. So when I run them through the grinder, they run nice and smooth. I don't put a lot of pressure on the worm. And I don't burn up my grinder. Small grinders, they're not as heavy as the commercials with the big belts and the gears. They have big belts, like fan belts for your car. And I think these little guys got very little belts because they're a very small grinder. It's not a commercial tabletop like a Hobart or a few of the others, which I can't think of right now. But I'll show you the difference in the clods and a chuck. This is a chuck, 7-bone blade, whatever you want to call it. Let me find a clod over here. And here's a clod. The difference in this is the chuck comes off the upper part of the shoulder into the chest, and the clod comes off the shoulder into the arm. Next piece down from the clod is the shank, which is right here. So the clod is basically kind of from the elbow to the top of the shoulder. Then the top of the shoulder going down to the rib. You'll notice this shape. If I separate it, starts to look like a ribeye, because that's where the chuck goes all the way into the ribeye. So chuck's going to be a lot more fatty, maybe slightly more tender. It makes ground chuck makes the best burgers you will ever eat. Although brisket's pretty good too for making burgers, but I'd hate to waste a brisket just for grind. So I have roughly, probably pretty close to 30 pounds of meat. So you can make stew out of this, you can make pot roast out of this, you could make, if I was going to do stroganoff, I'd use top sirloin, at least choice though. I want a little bit of fat for flavor and tenderness. I wouldn't use this. You see how that chuck was. Now watch when I cut this clod. See how lean that is? frosting some of my trim. Let's see, chuck. Duck, goose. Chuck. Back in the old days, we used to cut this off of whole 4/4. Shout out to the Bearded Butchers. They actually do a real good job of showing people when they're breaking beef. I don't have a facility to be able to do that. But they do good work on showing that. Mine's a little more specified. I'm going to show you guys how to break it out and then how to utilize it. They're going to show you how to break it out from a whole off the cow and how to portion it till you get to this point. I kind of do one part and they do another part. But let me see. Maybe I'll run a little bit of grind because I'm still waiting on more trim. I still have 2 clods and 1 chuck. Let me get my pan and then I'll run a set. Ask, where's the OXO pan? I need the bottom dish. Since this grinder's a little small, I can't put a 40-pound lugger under it to run 40 pounds and then put it back in and let it mix. So, and you guys seen what I look like. If you've seen some of my recent videos, there's some crazy photos of me acting crazy. you're running frozen meat with a small grinder like this, you're going to want to run real small pieces. Puts a lot of pressure on the worm, and then chase it with a piece of fresh. Plus, I'm getting bored. Maybe I'll make some rosettes. There you go. Little rosettes. If I was working at a shop, we'd be grinding rosettes to put in the case. That's where you're going to buy your fresh grind. Although, when we're doing rosettes, typically what we'll do, we'll run a batch of grind once on medium, then we'll throw it back in the hopper, we'll mix it. Since I don't have a hopper, the mixing is going to be done by me, which I'm almost at the point I want to mix. Probably going to save the rest of this. I'm going to mix it, and then I'm going to run it again, and then I'm going to start bagging it up. I only like to grind twice on medium for burger. If I was doing chili, depends. I still like to grind twice because I want the fat to be kind of mixed in so it'll melt into the meat. Usually I'm using two different kinds of meat, so I want to run them through and then mix them together by hand and run them again, but I want to run them on coarse because I want a little more texture in them. In this case, I'm doing grind, which I might make some chorizo out of, beef chorizo. Since I'd like to mix it with my tacos, I like it on a medium grind. I just went to California and gave my mom 10 pounds. I mixed. So I'm out because she'd been dying for some chorizo, and the stuff you get in packages is garbage. It's got lips, tongue, and ass and all kinds of shit in it. Pure beef chorizo is a lot leaner. You can customize the heat you want to put on it and just get better quality, and you don't need plastic casing around it. Just pack it up in individual packages for what you're going to use. Mixing time. Almost. Let's work the rest of these up so I got more room. I'm hoping to get a new table maybe next month. I have to get the ability to afford everything, so I'm just working on my board. I've had this board for at least 20 years. Nice because poly boards are really easy to clean. And if you guys are using wood boards like oh, what is it? It's a bow or something. It makes great boards, but they're real expensive to have a butcher block, a booze or something like that. But how you guys cure them and clean them, what you need is a good block scraper for one, with a flat edge. It's got to be real flat, because what that's going to do is when you scrape your board, it sloughs off the top layer of material, which is what keeps the bacteria. Even if you wash your board, you should always be scraping it, because what you'll find out is, yeah, you can wash it. You don't want to wash your a butcher block board with anything. We used to wash them with salt. Wash them with kosher salt and warm water, very, very warm water. Because anything you put in a wood block, it's going to seep into the wood, and you're going to be tasting that for a long time. With a poly block, since it's kind of like a hard plastic, what you do is you block scrape them to be sure you get anything off the top layer that's soaked into the board off. Then we used to use is about a capful of bleach to a gallon of water is what you need for disinfecting. And you take paper towels and you lay it across the board, and you coat it in that water after you scrub the board with the same amount, and that'll disinfect it. Now, if you want to whiten the board or get it to come out pristine white, this has nothing to do with disinfecting the board, because more bleach does not mean more disinfect. It actually acts as less disinfectant. So if you want to whiten a whiteboard, you lay paper towels. Be sure you take it outside, and you cover the entire board, and you pour bleach over the top, and you wait for about an hour. Then you come back and spray your board off, and it'll be pristine white. And just let it air dry, and then after it's rinsed, it'll be ready for next use. There's a lot of stuff they don't quite tell you when you get stuff. We used to do wood blocks. What we used to do, since we can't put soap on them, you definitely don't want to ever put pine salt on them. Everything you'll taste will be pine. It'll be ruined. You'll have to take a sander and sand down your board till you get below that pine layer. You can use a little bit of simple green and use that, but typically use just salt, and you put salt in hot water, scrape your board, and then rub that salt into the board. And after you rubbed it in, you let it cure for about a good 15 minutes. Use your block scraper again, you scrape that board dry, and then the board's ready to go. The salt will kill the bacteria. The salinity will be so high, but it won't transfer to the meat because you've scraped it off. But I don't have any wood blocks. But that's even curing wood cutting boards. You do the same thing. You don't want to transfer that flavor to meat. That's why nowadays your serve-safe stuff, people who are doing vegetables will use a green board. Seafood will use a blue board. Some red meats will use a red board. I just have plain old white board. and I use it for all kinds of things, but I make sure it's safe and clean when I use it. All right. Let's see how we're doing in here. So, now we got all this meat. I'm going to do a little mix. This is the same thing I'd be doing if I was doing sausage, except for the difference is, when I'm doing sausage, I'll mix all my seasonings together, and I'll add water to be sure I don't have any chunks or any of that mixed in. So I get one continuous actual set. I don't want sausage to be too salty on one area, too sweet, too hot, too anything else. So what you do is you add water to your cup with your seasonings, and you mix that together till it's nice, homogeneous, just seasoning and water. And you pour that in all around here, and you hand mix. All right. This smells great. I love Chuck. Chuck's got a very unique smell to it. Let me clean up my stuff over here. Breaking a sweat. Alright, we still have a little bit of press in there from the meat itself, so it hasn't been mixed. So I'm going to feed that through into my pan until I get where I want to go, and then I'm going to start punching rosettes because I'm going to pack these for grind for another time. And if you're wondering, why do I make my own grind? Well, I'm not paying $6 a pound for grind. The roasts were $3.97, which is kind of funny. They list them at $8.99 a pound. The ground beef typically you're going to get is roughly $4 a pound. So, and that's for 22, maybe. Some places that might even be for 30%. So I'm not paying for a bunch of fatty, scrapped up pieces of grind that's not going to taste that great. So what I'm going to do is get some really good tasty whole roasts, and I'm going to grind them to the specifications I want. And that way I can have good ground beef and not pay that out of control price. Big bags. So now I'm going to pack them up, or start packing them up in quart-sized bags, roughly pound, pound and a half, depending on what I'm going to use it for. If I use meat for spaghetti, I might use a pound for a couple people. If I'm using it for burgers for the house, probably a pound and a half. So I'll make some various sizes. I'm going to make meatloaf, and I'm going to smoke some meatballs on the smoker. Then I'm going to throw them in my pasta sauce, and I'm going to let them stew for a bit. I'm going to make meatball sandwiches. So this just gives me a lot of options. So when I do the meatloaf, typically I make 5 pounds, and that lasts about, if I'm lucky, it'll last 3 days. My meatloaf's out of control. Usually 2.5 pounds for meatloaf, 2.5 pounds for meatballs. And then that'll mix up real well. Back to grinding. Now I don't have to yell so much. Because when you're talking about breakfast sausage, I do another one called American apple sausage. It's basically like Granny Smith apples and brown sugar and maple. It's got the great maple flavor. It's like Your sausage, when it falls into the pancake syrup, it gets super cakey, mapley, with a little tiny baby chunks of apple. And I used to link those as breakfast links as well. I'll wipe the sweat out of my eyes. It's a little warm today. It was 86, so it's still pretty warm in the house. But if you notice, the grind on these is real nice and consistent. It's not big chunks. I was going to teach you guys a way to vac seal these. I'm not going to do, we'll go through this grind pretty quick. I got a bunch of stuff I'm going to cook for you, so I figured I'd do the small packages now. Plus the butcher's cat Tigger should be in here pretty soon, begging for meat scraps, because I'm grinding. Which, I'll definitely give Tigger some fresh meat. That cat loves fresh ground beef. Goes crazy. Will absolutely sit here and cry for it. He'll be like, meow, 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 meow. But if you ever want to learn something how to vac seal on these, and you don't have a vac sealer, or if you were vac sealing a bunch of meat, like there's guys that do deer, and you ran out of vac bags, so that's a problem, because Cryovac bags, even though you can use them multiple times, and you should, because they're very expensive, but use yourself good Ziploc bags, and what you do, fill up your sink half full of water. I used to pack a lot of tuna when I do big tuna trips, and I didn't have a Cryovacer, and I wasn't working for a shop that time, so even if I was working for a shop, only some shops have them. So you know, if you're working for an in general shop, maybe Safeway, Vaughn's, Rouse, Kroger, Food for Less, Dillon's, or Vaughn's, Pavilions, Albertsons, Safeway, you know, I've worked for everybody. Even markets that aren't around anymore. Christian Farmers Market, Bristol Farms, Farm to Market. I think there's still Food for Less around. A lot of them. Route's Fresh Fairs. I did all the case setting for them back in the 2000s. Did all the Safeway changeovers in Southern California to Vaughn's and Pavilions. My union that I started with was gone. It was 551, now it's 324. Well, it was last time I was in California. I don't know what it is anymore. I was with Bristol Farms the longest. That's where we did a lot of specialty. One of the few markets you can actually get A5 Kobe. And back then it was $100 a pound. Now it's well over that. Now if you're running a grinder, you don't want to run it too long without something pushing through it. It needs the fat to lubricate the worm. And when you clean it, you're going to use food grade mineral oil to lubricate all the parts, so when you're ready to use it again, it's set to go. I don't even know if somebody's watching me, so either are or you aren't, or try and give you a better view of grinding. Bring my container over. So hopefully my trim's going to come out of the microwave and I'll be able to cut that up. I'd like to run that right away. Make a little bigger bag here. So we'd like to get some more subscribers on so I can do my subscriber drive. I'd like to give you guys some free stuff, but I got to get to at least 100. That's what everybody'd like to see. And then I can do other things, multi-streams. I still got a rib roast I'm going to do a breakdown on. We're going to come to the season here pretty close. Rib roasts are going to start to go on sale. I want to do this before Christmas, so if you decide to get one, the reason I want to do it is not everybody's got 20 people to serve in their house. So let me move this stuff because I got to set it for the freezer. So if you don't have a bunch of people at your house, let's say it's just you and your wife and maybe a couple friends, and you didn't really think about purchasing a whole rib roast because it's just too much food, what I'll do is show you guys how to process it. And you can make breakfast steaks for steak and eggs. You can make steaks for your grill and put it all away, put it in the freezer, and get that really good price that you're not going to see again for a while, because we're running out of holidays. We have Halloween, which isn't really a holiday. Meat prices don't really fluctuate on Halloween. We have 4 major holidays, counting New Year's. And one of them is not officially a holiday, but it is in the U.S. We have Thanksgiving. We have Thanksgiving. We have New Year's. We have Christmas. And we have the famous holiday of Super Bowl. And that's pretty much it for holidays.
And then the barbecue holidays, 4th of July, Memorial Day.
Yeah, those are the end of the year. Those are later.
We passed all those.
We passed all those. So your St. Patty's Day is not a big holiday. I mean, corned beef's okay, but that's not beef. That's not ribs. That's not chicken. That's not any, and prices are going up. So what we're looking at is only a couple holidays left for the year. I'll break this down. Ugh. Break it down so I can grind it. So since it's still frozen, I'm gonna break out the 10-inch. for the same? My big 10-inch. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to break out the big 10-inch to handle the frozen meat. That's why I use this knife and not a regular staker. I showed you guys before, because a regular staker knife doesn't come down, it stays up. So if I was to draw that back, it would go right into the top of my hand. I've just always used a 10-inch Stanton. It's what they call a pork knife. Works just as good. It's actually safer to use. Like I told you guys on frozen, want small pieces. This stuff's still pretty frozen. I'm a little cooked. We're going to take a second break, and I'll be right back. Okay, so let's say we were going to make burgers, and we weren't sure what we wanted to make. You can take your fresh grind, dice up some onion, throw that in there. Dice up some jalapenos, throw that in there. Dice up some cheddar cheese, throw that in there. Mix that all together and make cheddar burgers. You could also do some bacon. Cook that, crumble it up in pieces, throw that in your burger, make cheddar bacon burgers. Blue cheese bacon burgers. You can make whatever you want. You're not limited to just having to buy stuff over the counter. Whatever you want in your burger, just make the stuff in advance, crumble it up, throw it in your meat. I'm going to press some burgers and put them in packages in the next batch. And I have a old Tupperware little scruncher for patties. I bought wax paper. I'm going to cut squares and put it in between my burger patties. And then I'll put them in Ziploc bags and I'll put them away so my burger's ready for just burger. Now, I'm just doing plain right now. But if I wanted to, and I was ready to, I'll probably do it on next grind maybe. Like in between the holidays, we just get tired of eating leftovers, or you're going to eat turkey in 2 days. So I'll get some grind and I'll grind some stuff and just make special burgers. And you just take your bowl of ground meat, put in it what you want, mix it real well. Mix it with your hands so it gets all over the place. Put some cracked black pepper in it. Season it with whatever you want to season it with. For a mesquite burger, I put Santa Maria's mesquite. I wait till my burgers are pressed and I season both sides. For a basic burger, I probably use Santa Maria. I like Laurie's, but I like that on pork, so I try to stay with what's consistent. If you want a chili kind of coffee burger, you could use that the Java chili. If you wanted, I would say lemon pepper doesn't really go, but if we want to make chicken burgers, which I'd have no problem making. Problem with chicken burgers and turkey burgers, poultry, is they're very sticky, super sticky. And what you typically are going to have to do is you need to put a binder in them. So you're going to have to use an egg and some breadcrumbs. And that'll give them some holding power. Otherwise, they're so lean and they cook so fast that the chicken's going to want to crumble after being on the grinder. You're also going to want to run them something like 1 time on coarse and not medium, because if you run them on medium, they turn out like mush. You have no texture. It just depends on if you're using thigh or breasts. I mean, if you guys have questions about doing different things, ask me. I mean, I've ground almost everything from wild boar to buffalo to chicken, rabbits, all kinds of stuff. Turkey, pheasant, duck. You can just ask me and I'll tell you what's the best route to go if you want to try something. I want to try and do some game birds during the holidays. I'd like to get some duck. I don't want duck breast. I want a whole duck. I'm going to try and do a turducken. I'd like to do it just before Christmas. My Christmases are usually surf and turf. If I can get some red king crab for the right price. Golds are just way too expensive. Reds are plenty good. I just don't know if I'm not connected in seafood anymore, and I don't know if I can get a decent price. I can't afford $40 a pound. That's just insane. So let's grind this through. This is some of the round trim. It's fairly fatty. I wanted it fatty because I knew I'd be running pretty lean trim through. This is for various things. find out is when you're grinding frozen, it comes out a little more foamy looking. Meat doesn't come out as red and white, it's separated. So I'm going to take some of this off the bottom and put it over there. Mix that in with some more fatty. What we're going to do is mix this up. Since we don't have big hopper, I'm the hopper. I want to make my grind as consistent as I can. If you're in the Roseburg area, best place to get your meat if you're buying from an independent is Crystal Creek. Jake runs a great shop. Right now, all he's got's a Sutherland shop. But coming soon, probably in the next year, they'll have a new one in Roseburg. I gotta get over to see him this week. Now we can see everything's a little more consistent. Whew. Got me breaking a sweat. I wish I had a set of fans behind me. That would be nice. So, let's run the next batch. And this batch, I think I'm going to run big bags. So we'll run a little bit of push out the grind that I just put through. And you'll see the difference in color. When it comes out, the meat I was last grinding will come out a different color than the grind that's getting ready to come out. So we have a couple big bags. We're going to do gallons. We're gonna probably run 3.5 pounds a bag. Somewhere around there. So I got this color. Versus this color. I know it looks pretty good. You can see the difference. This one's more fatty than this one. This one's leaner. It's probably about 17, 20, maybe 20%. Pretty close to 20. This is about 15. So it's going to be good for tacos, spaghetti, meatballs, all that other stuff. We'll run a couple big bags. Be sure I get a good seal on that. Get a little suction in there. Oops. There it is. All right. percentage of ground beef do you guys like to use? And why? Why would you use a certain percentage? And I'm not here to tell you why it's right or wrong or whatever. I'm trying to help you out on what other options might be better. Some people do it for health benefits. Have to run really lean grind because they can't have the cholesterol. In that sense, I would say if you love beef, to go to something completely different. You want something with low cholesterol and great flavor, red meat that's tender and flavorful. You guys ever heard of Watusi? Watusi is an African, basically water buffalo, that's been crossed with Angus cattle, typically, because Angus is breeds out the best. So, in fact, we had a few of them come through when I was in Kansas, out of Texas A&M, and they marble up like really high-end choice or prime, but the difference is since they're in the more buffalo family than the cattle family, their cholesterol is half what beef is. So if your cholesterol and your fat is half what beef cattle is, you can buy fattier pieces of meat and get that fantastic flavor. It's actually richer meat than what you typically find in regular beef, and get that less cholesterol fat problem and still eat very well. It's a little more expensive, but the meat, if you're getting 5 and 3 and 6 and 7 in ground beef, wouldn't you rather get 1 and 3 and 5 in Watusi or buffalo, ground buffalo, and have something that tastes great? Doesn't taste like rawhide leather, has absolutely no flavor at all. Buffalo tastes fantastic. I love buffalo, and it's made a steep price jump, but I mean, $8, $9, $10 a pound versus $6, $7 a pound. What's a couple bucks when you're talking about really enjoying your meal versus going, I should have bought it. I really should have. What I'm going to try and do, since I was a USDA inspector, I'm going to try and do a couple field trip videos. I'm going to try and go out to some of the buffalo, Watusi, go out to a lamb ranch. I might even go over to Idaho, over to Salmon Creek Farms, which does all natural pork. That's fantastic. I used to carry them back in the day. And take you guys on a couple of field trips. Kind of tied up through the first of the year, so I'll plan something for January, and maybe I'll do a field trip a month, and we'll explore some of the different kinds of meat that's out there on the market, and talk about its nutritional stuff and availability and cost and stuff like that. If you're interested in stuff like that, I'd definitely love to hear comments. I know all natural chicken producers that would be happy to have me. And we can talk about the different types of meat and how they're handled, and probably can't take you on the kill floor, but that's kind of like one of the sacred things. Only people get to do that are inspectors and employees. Not much to see though, unless we were doing a halal kill. And you can't even find images for a halal kill, but if you guys wanted to know about that, I worked kosher before as a butcher and an inspector. So we can talk about that if you want to know what's going on with that. So there's my big grinds. Now I'm just left to mix this batch. Well, actually shoot this batch through, because the only grind on it is what I have on top. So let's shoot that batch through. But any topics you guys are interested on in the meat industry, or the way they're raised, or feedlots, or stuff like that, let me know. I've worked in different areas of the field, either as a meat cutter or an inspector, that maybe I can answer some questions. And if there's still questions, maybe we'll go there. grind. Got grind everywhere. So, we're coming into the holidays. Average American eats turkey for the holidays. Some eat ham. A lot do prime rib on Christmas. Some do goose. Christmas goose, of course. Roast duck. Roast pheasant. I didn't even know they had pheasant in Oregon until I saw a couple guys shot it on the east side, which is awesome because I want to go hunt pheasant. I'll have to do it next year because season's about over. Duck season should come in about December. Sage grouse, which we have here, ruffed grouse, and chucker. I don't think we have chucker. They're more desert. Might have them out in the desert where the antelope are. We have a pretty good amount of elk. They're not like Colorado elk or New Mexico elk, which is kind of like mule deer compared to whitetails and blacktails. I'll have to look at what their diet is. I mean, it had some Kansas and Missouri deer, and they eat all the cornfield stuff. So they're pretty damn tasty. Colorado deer, not my favorite. They eat a lot of sage and birch. They're a little on the heavy gamey side. California deer, a lot of big muleys in California. They're okay. We got, I guess, Roosevelt elk. They're not as big as the elk out of Colorado. It's still a pretty good size elk, though. I'm trying to get some game meats here pretty soon. And I'd like to show you guys a couple of game meat recipes if I can get a hold of some. I mean, I can order stuff. I want to get stuff that was shot. And hopefully I can get somebody to bring me some. And I'll link some sausage up and we'll smoke some pieces. I'm also trying to do that with some salmon and steelhead. So let's see what we're going to do. I think I'll do one more big bag. And then the rest small bags. All right, let's feed the kitty. Feed the kitty. Meow, meow, meow. Let's feed the kitty. Let's switch bowls. I usually don't write my weights on my ground beef, but I might today. So, now we're down to just the last grind. Take this. We'll do like we did before. We're going to pump rosettes. So let's help me get that up to that 100 subscriber base, and I can kick you guys down some free stuff. Whoops. I think for the first one, we're going to do a baster bottle, really nice one too, from OXO, and I'm going to include a marinade with it of your choice. So you can start experimenting with Scott's Food Products and have an opportunity to try out some stuff. I think it'd be pretty cool. I think I have 4 or 5 bottles. If I don't, so once I get up to 100, 4 or 5 people are going to get hooked up. I don't know how I'm going to pick that, but
There's a website for that.
we have the website for that.
Yeah, it's just a random number generator.
Oh, okay. So the random number generator is going to randomly generate who gets hooked up.
Yes, and we're giving away more than a bottle. And some marinade seasoning.
Probably, I'll give you a dry seasoning too.
Be giving away one of the OXO grilling sets. We have this beautiful Oregon mug. It's got a elk and a salmon and a lighthouse, and it's raised. It's textured. And we got the Oregon redneck shot glass. It's a little teeny tiny.
It's a little small for an Oregon redneck shot glass. Needs to be like a half pint or something.
And then we've got a couple keychains that are both Oregon keychains.
So when we do it, we'll just randomly generate it, and then we'll post who's on it, and we'll have to get, address to send it all to y'all guys. But we need to get that 100 subscriber base up, so
make sure your subscriptions are visible.
Let's get up. We're going to grind the rest of this beef, and then I'm going to fix the latest late supper for dinner. Is actually, I might not pack these. I actually think I'm just going to grind it through a second time, and I'm going to make patties. So why don't we do that? We'll make patties. I got plenty of anytime we use equipment, we break it down. So, let's break down the equipment. There's two things on most of these grinders. You have the hand tightener here, and you have a tightener here. This tightens the plate, the worm, against the grinding blade. So what you usually do is you tighten the front plate, then you tighten it up here, so that way there's no slack in the worm, and it presses it through so the blade can rest against the plate. So what you want to do is you want to loosen this first a couple turns, then, depending on how tight, I tapped it. Looks like I tightened it tight. You can see there's a little fat always gets caught in there. I get that. Now, instead of trying to dig this out, just tap it once. Get that. Pull your worm. This grind's been run a couple times. I don't want the fat, but I'll take the meat. And all this goes to get washed. And this, unscrew a little bit more, it comes right off, and this gets washed. All right. Kind of clean up my board. So, now we're down to grind. I don't have a stupid helmet or something to look at. You can see me at the board. Warm in here. Okay, get my oven started. All right. I need my patty press. So, find out what drawer I put it in. Not in my knife drawer. Usually in my knife drawer. Not my knife drawer. Utensil drawer. Utensil drawer. If you don't have a patty press, what you can use is tuna can works pretty good. First we're going to deal with the wax paper. So just plain old regular old wax paper. We want to separate the patties after we do them, and we don't want the paper to stick to the patties. So as you can see, that's about the size of your patties. So and how many am I going to get? Probably 2. You can buy patty paper. See if I can get 3 on one. Let's see. Kind of close. And do I know how many burgers that's going to make? It's probably going to make about 35. So we'll cut this and see where we end up. Man, I'm ready for winter. My friends in Kansas are already starting to get the cooling. Arizona, it's still hot. California is California, of course. So, we take our patty paper and we put that on the bottom. Take about as much grind. You want quarters. They're roughly going to be about that size. 4-to-1s. And press it nice and hard. I didn't center it very well, but that's right, it's wax paper. Do it again. Put that one over there. Last time I did this was back when it was a summertime. I was working for Bristol Farms. We were working Long Beach, I think. And our patty machine broke. So we used to sell patties on a regular basis. So we still had to have patties for the case. But no patty machine means you got to make them by hand. And I was not only making just regular patties by hand, I was making cheddar bacons and black pepper, blue cheese, and onion. And those are actually bigger than the press. Some of the times we rolled them out by hand and made them. Some of the times we did it just like this. Those are pretty healthy patties. If you were making them at home for the kids, I usually use a tuna can, and I punch a hole in the top so you're able to get the can up. It creates a suction once you press it down, and you basically just run the meat out on your board at a certain thickness, and you cut them like cookies. And then you cookie cut them. You don't have to buy patties because they charge you extra money for patties, and it takes almost no time to make them. Plus, a lot of times I like to customize my patties. This time I'm just running straight regular burger. Can't put them in here. Too big. So I think I'll run 6 per bag. This guy come off. Three on that side. Set that one over there. Sheet. I don't know what size can I would use for a bigger patty. I would look for a can that's bigger than a tuna can. Don't know. Trying to think off the top of my head what I would use. Oops. Much paper. What type of can would be you want it square, you can use sometimes sardine can. Round can that's flat. Well, you guys might have to go to the store and see what you can find and tell me what can you would use for a bigger burger to punch a hole in the top to make bigger patties. I was just at the store and I wasn't thinking about that, but next time I go, I'll be looking at canned products to see what I could use. So now I got these in. I'll fold this back over to take a lot of the air out. And then I got a 6 set of patties. So we're going to keep on that track. And just keep doing patties. Let's do some littler ones. Do some thinners. Now patties, when you're buying them in a store, they'll typically say, they don't tell you if they're thirds. Well, if you're buying them commercially, they'll say 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1, 10-to-1, 8-to-1. A good example, a McDonald's cheeseburger. I worked for them when I was a kid. A cheeseburger's patty. Now just figure out the cost after you figure out what cheeseburger's patty is. They're 10-to-1s, so that means 10 of those little tiny frozen patties in a pound. Okay? You're not getting a quarter pound, you're not getting an eighth of a pound, you're getting a tenth of a pound. So you're paying, what is it, for a cheeseburger? Cheeseburger is what? Cheese, couple pickles, mustard and ketchup, and you're paying for a 10-to-1 patty. You're paying $2 or $3, right? So that 10-to-1 patty, if a pound of ground beef is roughly, let's just say $5 a pound, that patty costs 50 cents. So that 50-cent patty you're buying for $3. And there's nothing on it to equate to making it much more than 75 cents for the actual burger at the current price of grind beef. So, and that's not their cost. They're killing you on what they're making. That's your cost. So you're paying for 50 cents, but you're paying $3.50 for that little tiny ass burger, like what was it? Burger King had 2 junior Whoppers for $5. Lettuce and tomato. Tomatoes are high right now, $2.98 a pound. Lettuce is still pretty high, but not what they're using. They're not using iceberg. They're using romaine typically, and that's still pretty reasonable. Iceberg's really high, $3 a head roughly. So let's just figure, even if they're using iceberg, how many little pieces of lettuce are you going to get in a head of lettuce? A lot, probably 30, 40 for $3. Okay, so your little 50-cent patty is now costing you, it's still going to be about 75 cents. It's going to cost you $2.50. And most of the time when it gets to you, it's going to be smashed and looks like the car rolled over it. And the quality's going to suck. The meat's going to suck. When you could buy good quality meat and make a couple of them at home and get a higher nutritional value than buying that garbage. After a while, doing this is not that big a deal. I mean, yeah, it takes time. So what do you do with your time? Usually your time at night is you're off work, you're just kind of chilling, you're kicking back. If you were making specialty burgers, you'd make your specialty burgers. But when you pull them out and you go to cook them and friends come over and they go to eat and you pull out your burgers and they're all like meats you picked and seasoning you know that you love, and maybe you did specialty like cheddar and bacon, you put a little green onion in there, and you throw those on the grill and somebody throws on some frozen patties. It's almost like a joke. It's like not even fair to book them in the same category. Tic-tics. My meat cat's in the room. Tic-tics. Oh, you're giving Ticks treats? I was going to give Ticks some meat. So it looks like out of this, I'm going to get 6 packages of patties, which is going to be 5 because everybody in the house is waiting for me to make burgers because I was going to grind beef today. It'll get that way at your house too. If you pull out a grinder and people hear, oh, you're grinding beef, you think you can do something? Can you do something too? Everybody will be asking for you to make grind. I worked as an inspector in Kansas for an IBP Tyson plant. I also worked for National Beef and Excel. Well, didn't work for them. I worked in their plants. And I know what goes into ground beef. I knew what went into ground beef when I was a meat cutter. I've seen what the chubs look like before they grind them. I've seen what comes out of the chubs, and there is no way in hell I will ever eat meat from a chub. I would rather eat something else. We got some quality meat producers. We got some small places. Crystal Creek and Sutherland's good. B&D is really good. And the reason I would recommend them, they're small shops. Those small meat shops, they don't buy chubs. They trim their roasts and they trim their steaks, and usually off their trim, they make the grind. So you're getting steak trim on the leaner meats, roast trim on the fattier meats, but you're getting quality. You're getting trim that isn't peeled off the head or peeled off the ass or wherever else. Leave it to your imagination where it comes from. So if you're looking for quality ground beef, go to an independent. If you're not grinding it yourself, you'll pay a little bit more, but it's worth it. the chain stores, they don't have a choice. If it's not pre-packed coming in from the warehouse, which I can tell you what it is, it's all coming off Chubbs because they have big hoppers, 40, 80, 100, 150, probably up to 500s, and auto sleevers and everything like that. And all their grind is coming off Chubbs, which are trimmings from the plant. And you buy them in cases. The quality sucks. You're just buying it for the percentage fat. But they don't tell you, they couldn't even tell you where the part's coming from. It's just grind. Now, some of you guys wonder about the pink slime. I was in Kansas when that went on. And that was an IBP plant that was doing the official pink slime. I was a line inspector at that time, but our CSI used to go to the grinding facility where they ground with the pink slime, and we knew about it, and everybody says it's fine. Well, it's not fine when you're getting ground beef, not ground pink slime. It's just because you put stuff in a test tube and say it's beef, it's not beef. All my red meat I like to grind, I grind from pure muscle. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Even though you're supposed to cook all burgers to 165 degrees, some people like a burger rare or medium rare. Well, rare, medium rare burgers I wouldn't buy from any grocery store or anything. I would take whole muscle that's clean, and I would grind it myself for a couple of reasons. If you're getting muscle that's from the internal part of the cow, your chance of getting E. coli and salmonella is substantially less. Because, for one, the first time it's been touched since it left the plant is when your meat cutter cuts it. And meat cutters are pretty safe as far as food safety in general, especially chain cutters or independents and stuff like that. So if you're getting muscle that's from the internal part of the cow, there's less chance of fecal contamination getting on your meat unless it was a food handler problem. That's why they recommend everything be cooked to 165 degrees. So, if it's a meat cutter you can trust, or an establishment you can trust, usually most markets, independent markets, are always A's because we pay attention to what we got to do as far as food safety. We're not letting vermin and other things get into our coolers and stuff like that. That'd be gross, super gross. Taking care of the problem before it becomes a problem. But most muscle, the internal part of the cow, has never gotten to where the fecal part of the cow is. So if you're talking, let's just say top sirloin or New York or any of those, their placement, if it was to get on anything, it would be on the back fat, and because the inside of the muscle lays up against the bone. If there was contamination, it would be peeled off on the back fat, so it would never really get to the meat. So if you want to run a rare or medium rare piece of meat on something like that, that would be advisable. Sure. I mean, there's always still a chance. I mean, even when you're doing your own stuff, there's always still a chance. You just want to be sure you wash your hands. If you get up, you got to go somewhere, you got to wash your hands again. If you're handling meat and you've been handling something else, you got to wash your hands again. If you go to grab boxes or something to move something to the trash, you gotta wash your hands again. We pay attention to detail. You want to work clean. Your area should be clean, free of debris as much as possible. Oh, I need more wax. Now just remember, don't mix your wax paper up with parchment paper. You can have a real bad problem. You can cook with parchment paper, you can't cook with wax paper. Wax paper is good for doing jello or separating patties or stuff like that. Bet I can get 2 patties out of that. You get 2 little baby patties. Well, that wasn't what I wanted. Come on. I'm gonna get 1. I'm gonna get 1. I don't even know how long I've been on here, but there's my other patty. Extra wax paper. Back in the wax tape. And put my bags away. That's our grinding for the day. We're going to be doing some more grinding when I do some sausage. I'm going to do a complete sausage setup here pretty soon. But that's it for tonight. Like and subscribe. We need to get some more subscribers on there. That's what I'm going to cook with tonight. And I'll see you next time. Check out Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, of course, where we do most of our videos. And I'll try and have something for you probably tomorrow or the next day. This is Dan from Chasing the Missing Link.